Welcome to the Black and White of It podcast, a podcast where two very different women discuss all things life. Our hope is that by discussing our different and similar perspectives on many aspects of life, people will consider viewpoints that they never thought about before. And now, here are your hosts, Donna and Amy, back with another great topic. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome back to the Black and White of It podcast. We are your hosts, Donna
and Amy.
And today we are going to talk about travel. We are at the very start of summer, and so we thought this would be a great time to talk about travel. So we'll talk a little bit about our experiences and kind of our future destinations we would love to go. But first, let's get into the quote of the week. So this week I actually have a definition and a quote. So the first is the definition of wanderlust. It's a noun. A strong desire for or impulse to wander or travel and explore the world. That is definitely me, but funds keep me from being able to do that as much as I would like, as well as time, and meaning time off from work, time you have to do other things. But the quote of the week is going to be something attached to the thought of wanderlust. I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. I absolutely love that. There is no author listed here, but I absolutely love that. I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. All right. So I know one place that we both have been that we both loved was Disney World. So, do you want to talk about your experience in Disney World? You kind of went at a different time of the year than me. And then, of course, you went with you went with your family. So do you want to talk about your trip that you took?
I can. We've been a couple of times to Disney World. The first time we went in April. Second time I took my mom before she passed in July. It was terrible. It was hot and miserable. And then
what year was that?
We went about 2008 in July, terrible hot. My mom had never been, enjoyed every single second of it, even though it was absolutely miserably hot.
Did she get on the rides?
Oh, that's a good question. I do not remember. Maybe like the small ones. I know she really enjoyed like the Beauty and the Beast show.
Okay.
I don't particularly remember her being like on a big ride, maybe like Peter Pan or something like that. I do remember her enjoying the Lion King show, things like that.
Okay.
Maybe Small World, something like that. But gosh, that's a great question. It's so weird what your mind blocks out after so many years. Then the next few times we've been to Disney World have been for gymnastics competition, and we just happened to go. And that always happens around February, and it is a lovely time to go to Disney World. It is just cool there. It's not hot, and I would recommend everyone go. I do want to see it eventually at Christmas time, but I really do enjoy the cooler times. I've been to Disney World for sure.
Do you get on the rides?
I get on all of the rides, yes. I would not consider myself a ride person. But Disney rides are really fun. They're very animated, and I just it tells a story the whole time, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then your kids, it's fun to watch the kids have a
it is fun. It is fun to watch the kids. In Orlando, we actually also went to Universal, and our family had an incredible time there. I was blown away by the stories that their rides told.
You had to pick one over the other. You would pick Disney? Sound like you're about to say?
Probably not at the age that my children are at. I would probably go back to Universal. Just they're older now, and we just really had a fun time. I think it was because I wasn't expecting it. Disney is just expected magic, and it
Yeah.
is magical. I love it there. I mean, it's one of my favorite places just to sit back and to look at the sights and the castle. And I mean, they even put smells, that you can. So I love that part of Disney, but I think I was just very shocked at how much fun that we had at Universal. So I would probably, if I had it to do, this year, I probably would take my kids to Universal again.
Does Universal do shows too?
I didn't see any. I didn't see any shows at the time we went. It was also during February, and they had like a Mardi Gras kind of thing. It was right in the middle of COVID, so we all had on masks, and it was just not the same. I'm sure the experience. I can't even imagine it being any better. I loved like the little city walk they had, just like the shopping, kind of like downtown Disney, which we adore. But for whatever reason, I just was not expecting Universal to be as much fun. And we had an incredible time. We just had a lot of fun there. The Harry Potter stuff, one of my youngest son is into that and got to use his little magic wand to make all the things move in the little Harry Potter world. He had a lot of fun.
Great. Well, my experience, I went to Disney as a child, but I have very, very minimal memories of that. But last July, in the middle of heck weather, I mean, it was toasty.
Very.
I took my younger brother, who had just turned 18, to Disney for a high school graduation gift. And it was also a gift to myself for finishing my doctorate that prior December. And oh gosh, I had so much fun on all the rides. It was so much fun. It was expensive, but I splurged a little bit more for us to have the kind of experience that I wanted. It was so great to get on all the rides, the roller coasters. It was not fun to stand in line in July. But, it's just expected. Of course, when you go to somewhere like that, you have to expect it, especially depending on the time of the year. Heat, you have to expect painful feet because you're going to do a lot of walking and a lot of standing. But I had the best time. And as a plus size person, you have to consider if you'll be able to do some of the things there as far as riding the rides because of your size. Disney is so plus size friendly. People larger than me can still ride most of the rides. There was 2 rides that I was afraid. One was Avatar. That's at what's that one? What's that park called with the animals?
Oh, like Animal Kingdom?
Animal Kingdom. Avatar at Animal Kingdom. It was the best ride. It was the very best ride I think I've ever been on, or the one most recently anyway, which before then I hadn't been on a ride probably 20 years. But that's a lie because I'll get back to that in a second. But I had so much fun on that ride. But when I had done research about it, there was a lady, and she was bigger than me, who couldn't get on the ride because her legs were too big to fit in the things that went around your legs. And then there's a thing they push up on your back. And the lady did have to push in the back for me. So I was like, oh no. But it closed. It was the best. It was the very best. I probably would go back to Disney just to get on Avatar. And if anyone is interested in me doing like an episode on being plus size at Disney, by all means, that would be something fun for me to do. There may not be enough of you guys interested in that, but I'll consider doing it if anybody ever reaches out and says they would want that, or we can just message via email about some of that plus size experience. But the other ride was the Seven Dwarfs ride at Magic Kingdom. And that has to do with leg size as well. But I won't go too deep on that just in case we decide to do an episode for the plus size experience at Disney. But I've also been to Universal way back in 2006. Me and 2 of my best friends, we went for our spring break, our senior year of college. And I had fun at Universal. A lot of the stuff that was there back then is gone now. We did like the Twister ride. We went on Jaws. I wish Jaws was still there because that was the funnest little ride because you got in like a boat and they had the fake shark popping out of the water. It was great. And that's mostly what I remember about Universal. The problem was my friends didn't want to get up and at them. And so we missed a lot of time that we could have spent at the park. So we didn't get to do as much stuff as I would have wanted. And we rode other stuff. Those weren't the only 2 rides that we rode, but we just didn't have a lot of time because you stand in line for an hour or more sometimes. So I would have to go back to Universal closer to a 2020 version to give a good, to get a good idea if I would pick it over Disney at this point, because we got to see shows and all kinds of stuff at Disney. And I just really enjoyed the full experience. So, all right, not to spend the whole episode on Disney. My favorite place to visit in the South is Nolens, Louisiana, or New Orleans, Louisiana. Love that city. Love it, love it, love it. There's so much to do. There's Bourbon Street. Of course, there's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of partying. It's just wild. It's just so much fun to people watch down on Bourbon Street and walk around the French Quarter, eat all the good food, walk around drinking the daiquiris. Amy has yet to visit the Big Easy, but maybe I can, compel her to visit in the next couple of years.
So I should definitely get in the car and take a drive with an adult trip for sure.
So that's my favorite. And I go just about every year up until COVID. And I haven't been in the last few years, and I'm sad. I need to get back to my place. It might really help my mental health if I could get to the Big Easy and just, let it all loose.
True. You might
say that again.
I said you would like that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Then my favorite West Coast city to visit is Vegas, which I have not been to Vegas in a while either. But I love Vegas. It's just something about the casinos, the bright lights, the energy. I will say the first time I went to Vegas versus the last time, it felt different, but I was with different people too. But I just feel like Vegas is a city that has changed a lot since the very first time I went, which I think was in 2008 or 2009. And the last time I went was 2018. But just love Vegas, not even necessarily gambling. It's just the vibe and the energy that I feel when I'm there. And there's just so much to do. I've never gone and been able to do everything I had planned to do. So there's just so much to do. Any places that you want to mention on your list of favorites, Amy?
I love the beach, and I don't really have a particular beach. I like the Gulf. The Gulf, I've been to Hilton Head, and we liked that, but it was a little bit too cold, so we didn't get to enjoy the beach. But definitely my favorite place to visit is the beach by far. And like I said, I'm not very picky about which one. I enjoy just kind of going out there, putting the umbrella up and just watching my kids play. I've never been to Las Vegas. I've never been to New Orleans. I think I was in the middle of rearing children. But now that my kids are getting to a certain age, we can leave them, and maybe I'll get to visit some fun places like that.
Yeah, we gotta go. We gotta go somewhere.
That would be really fun. The most recent place I've traveled that I did not enjoy that I expected to enjoy was Colorado. I really expected to enjoy Colorado. My daughter had gymnastics meet there, and we had terrible traveling delays. It was just awful. I think we were on 6 planes in 24 hours just to get to Colorado. The mountains were stunning. They're beautiful, but it was just not my happy place like the beach. And I was kind of sad because I expected to just be enthralled with it. I would say most of my kids really like the mountains. My husband likes it. It was my first time, and it just wasn't my place.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say because of all your travel mishaps, it was a little clouded, because there's beauty in the mountains that kind of gives you a serenity. It's different from the beach because I'm a water person too. I definitely would pick the beach over the mountains, but maybe if you get another chance to go.
I see me picking it. I just don't. I have friends that just went back to the same place. I don't know. It just didn't, I think it must have been the traveling nightmare that we had.
Yeah.
Although the airline was very nice and gave us $100 after they put us on 6 planes. But um, it was pretty. And maybe if I had more time to sit and like relish its beauty, maybe that would have helped. We just had to go right when we got there. There wasn't much. It was beautiful, but it just wasn't the water to me. I think I'm definitely a water person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even a lake. Any body of water just really makes me feel calm.
Yeah, me too. And even when I visit New Orleans, we usually just go and sit out by the water if we don't get on a boat and do like a dinner cruise. So definitely a water person too. And actually recently went to Fort Walton Beach for a wedding and got on a boat there. Just something. And then our hotel was actually right by the water. It wasn't like on the beach. It was a different type of little area, but there's just something about the water that makes me feel like God is there and just gives me peace. If only,
it's peaceful.
If only for a couple days.
Right.
Where we want to go, do you have any bucket list places you want to go, Amy?
Definitely some type of island somewhere, beachy island. I do think the Maldives or the Maldives, I think that would be really fun, but it's so far close to India. I don't see myself ever taking like a 24-hour plane ride anywhere, or however long it takes to get there. But just some type of island place. I would like to see like the Caribbean, something really blue. Although my heart is really just happy at just the regular old Gulf Beach. Like I'm pretty happy there.
Yeah. Well, I will say, because I agree with not wanting to be on a plane for X amount of time, and this would bring a lot of planning, which is kind of part of what I wanted to talk about today too. You could stop somewhere in between, visit there a day or two, and then keep it moving to break it up. That's how I figured I would do a long trip. My bucket list is Fiji. And I always thought of Fiji as like a romantic trip. So like a honeymoon or just a vacation. That's right. A vacation from the very single person. And then Egypt has always been on my bucket list. And I'm kind of afraid to go to Egypt, but a lot of people are still going and have been. So maybe that is something I can eventually do one day. And then Dubai or Abu Dhabi, somewhere in that area, just kind of see the richness and just explore those very popular, fun cities. Those are definitely all on my bucket list. And then I was born overseas. So I would love to go back to my birthplace of Italy and visit. If it's the Lord's will, I may try for my 40th to go visit Italy and, just kind of see where I came into the world. And, again, that takes a lot of planning as well. Anywhere else, Amy?
Well, I have an 18-year-old right now that has been traveling Spain for nearly 3 weeks, and he is loving every single second of it. So I would like for him to take me back and show me what he's seen in Spain. He's seen a lot of really good art. He's likes art museums and a lot of really old buildings that we don't really have here in the United States. We just kind of tear down our stuff, and they've kept their buildings for thousands of years. So, he loves what he's looking at there and would like to take me back. And I think that would be fun now that he knows a lot about it and could educate me while we go. And to look at the art is really neat, especially since my boys are two of them are really into art.
And that seems like a really, really good idea. Have your own personal tour guide, and you can.
Yes, he would love to show me the whole thing. He's enjoying every minute of it.
Hop around from city to city, have your wine, and just have a good old time looking at stuff. That does sound amazing.
He said the alcohol there is cheaper than the water. He said that it's really hard to get a bottle of water. They don't really serve their drinks with ice. So it's just, he said it was Alcohol is super affordable. Water is not. And they also have a lemon Fanta that is all the rage, I do hear.
Okay. Tips and tricks. Let's see. I definitely have not traveled like I used to the last few years because of COVID. So I don't have a lot of tips and tricks anymore. It used to be on Tuesday evenings, you could get the cheapest flights, but I don't think that holds true anymore. But you can still, if you remember from our financial episode, I said your rich BFF was one of the people that I follow, and she just dropped a gem about IHG hotels. I can't remember the exact one, so you'll have to go to her page. But she says if you say stay cool, you get upgraded, free breakfast, extra amenities, all this kind of stuff. So there's lots of tips and tricks out there for you to get things cheaply or free. Unfortunately, like I said, I just haven't traveled that much lately. There's some places that will give you money to travel, like a little scholarship or a grant or something like that. You just kind of have to spend the time to research it, and it's worth it, especially if you're low on funds. Hey, it's 2022 and the flights are ridiculous. So if you're wanting to go somewhere you have to fly, you're going to have to put in some time to find something that you can do cheaply. Even if you drive, gas is ridiculous. So do a Shell card, or if BP still has their program, do something where you can at least discount your gas, or, something like that. I don't mean a credit card. I mean like the rewards card. I'm not saying go out there and get more debt. Donna did not tell you that, but just research ways that you can get things cheaper or get upgrades for free so that you can, enjoy your vacation a little bit better without completely breaking the bank. Do you happen to have any tips or tricks, Amy?
Well, my tips or tricks are a little bit different, not necessarily monetary. We do have a season of travel that lasts from about, I don't know, November, December through sometimes May with gymnastics. The best tip I've ever gotten is to get some packing cubes. They have saved our lives. So you pack your different clothing into, smaller cubes. That's the best way I can describe it. So like you can either do it by outfits, you can do it by pants, you can do it by however, but this packing cubes pack really well into your suitcase. And then for us, we usually travel with just two. We each have our own color packing cube. We know where our stuff is. It's not just like a suitcase bubbling over. It just, for whatever reason, that really works well for us. I feel like that was the best tip I've ever had for traveling.
And that's a great tip because you can limit the amount of stuff you have to take with you.
Exactly. It keeps your bag light. You know for sure that you have, 5 outfits if you're going to be there 4 days. You know exactly how many pairs of socks or shoes. There's even like a shoe travel cube. It's great. That was literally the best tip I ever had, and I use it. And I sent my son 3 weeks to Spain with actually mine and his sister's packing cubes. So I might have to buy some more when he comes back. Who knows? But I got them on. And actually, we got one set, I think, from TJ Maxx, and the other set we got from Amazon. Very affordable. The Amazon ones are sturdier. So I probably, if you travel frequently, I think those were probably the better bet. Now my child, he's very large, and then my daughter is small. So we can get a lot more of her clothes into packing cubes than we could his, but we worked it out and his suitcase was very manageable.
Great. So we will link the Amazon product in the description. I'll try to find that, or if Amy can maybe find it, we'll try to link it for you guys to check out.
They have all different colors, styles. Yeah, that was one of the best tips I've ever gotten.
And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, I kind of touched on a little bit, is planning/saving. So I'm going to be honest. I'm awful at, we've already talked about this in our financial show. I'm awful at saving. I did it that one time and blew the money. And it's hard for me to save. But if you know that you're going to travel in 6 months or you're going to travel in a year, it's really smart to figure out how much the trip is going to cost, and then split it up across the 6 months or split it up across the year. And then that way it's not such a burden when the vacation time comes. Way back, probably more in my 20s and less in my 30s, we would go on trips. And I mean, we'd literally be scraping money to have, to be able to have fun with, because we pay for your hotel and your travel and your meals. And so I promised myself I wouldn't go on trips anymore and have to kind of worry about that. And I usually don't. I may not save the way that I want to, but I will save at least a few months before, so that it's not so much of a burden in 1 month on my bills. Not that I go on trips and not pay my bills. Let me just make sure I state that the bills are still going to be paid, but my discretionary money, gets a little bit tighter for when I'm at home if I'm going on a trip, that month. So usually I do about 2 to 3 months in advance, where I start putting maybe $50 to $100 a month to the side. If nothing else, that'll pay for maybe the hotel. But my recommendation is, if you have some time to plan and to save, it is so much easier to go ahead and do that. And then you're not worrying about how you're going to pay for stuff when you get there. As far as planning a trip, I have used travel agents. I've planned trips all on my lonesome. Again, you just have to really spend some time and research, figure out what things there are to do there, how much it's going to cost to get there, whether you're going to fly, whether you're going to drive, take a train. Flying and driving are not the only ways to get places. Cruises, I've been on a couple cruises, and let me tell you, I didn't even think about this at the beginning of the episode, but the 2 times I've been on cruises were the absolute best, because I felt completely detached from reality. You don't have to leave the boat. Of course, you have to be okay to be on the water for X amount of time, but all the shows, all the foods included, drinks or not, sodas and alcoholic beverages or not, but comedy shows, singing, magic, all things that you can think of, everything is on the boat. There's the pool, there's movies. I mean, there's just so much to do. And then when you dock, if you want to do an excursion or just, visit the city, and because, you're usually going somewhere like Mexico or somewhere like that, it costs a lot to be on your phone anyway. So my phone is usually completely off, and it's the best way to feel completely disconnected from work and everything that's going on. That being said, COVID is still a concern. So I personally won't be hopping on a cruise anytime soon. But when I can, that would definitely be something that I would do again, because it's so easy. You don't have to do that much planning. You just have to pay the money. You can do a down payment and, get yourself started that way. But all those things are things to consider when you're planning and saving for a trip. Anything you want to add, Amy, as far as planning and saving?
No, I think you've touched on it all. That sounds very reasonable.
All right. So I hope this episode has been helpful. That is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and we can't wait until the next time.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Black and White of It podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we truly, greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Black and White of It podcast.